How about them Cowboys, fan nation, Cowboys nation? Our Dallas Cowboys dominated the Carolina Panthers today, 30-14 in Carolina. The Cowboys moved to 6-8. 6-8 is still a terrible record, but hey, it's only one game behind 500 or 2 games. So 6-8 Cowboys beat the Carolina Panthers, who are 3-11, 30-14. The offense for the first time this season actually scored 30 points on their own, because people will say, well, they scored 35 against the Commanders and 33 against the Cleveland Browns. When they beat the Cleveland Browns, one of those touchdowns came off of special teams. When they beat the Commanders, 2 of those touchdowns came because of special teams. Today, the offense got all 30 points. First time we've done that all season. I'm just going to come out and say it. Cooper Rush is just as good as Dak Prescott. People will say, well, Cooper Rush, he threw 3 touchdowns, but it was against the beat-up, hurt Carolina Panthers team. How many times have we seen Dak Prescott pad his stats against a bunch of beat-up, hurt defenses or a bunch of backups? How many times have we seen Dak Prescott, your elite quarterback, throw 3 to 5 touchdowns against a bunch of beat-up, hurt secondaries? We've seen it so many times. So many times. Cooper Rush is just as good as Dak Prescott, and he is making $6 million a year. Dak Prescott is making $54 million more than Cooper Rush, and Cooper Rush and Dak Prescott are just as good as each other. The only difference is Dak Prescott has a slightly stronger arm, and that's it. The only difference between Cooper Rush and Dak Prescott is that Dak Prescott has a slightly stronger arm, and Cooper Rush will actually attack the cover 2. Dak Prescott will never attack the cover 2. He'll just dink and dunk it all day. So let that sink in. We have a quarterback on our roster right now making $6 million that's just as good as Dak Prescott, and he's making $54 million less. Could you imagine if we had Cooper Rush instead of Dak? Imagine if we had not paid Dak. If we had not paid Dak and we just had Cooper Rush out there for $6 million, imagine the amount of talent we would have, the amount of money that we would have to build a really good roster. Just saying. Dak Prescott is the most overrated quarterback. Cooper Rush in 6 games in 6 games, Cooper Rush is 3-3. He has 10 touchdown passes and 3 interceptions. Let that sink in. Cooper Rush in 6 games is 3-3 with less help, by the way. He was missing Zach Martin. He is missing Cooper Beebe in this game. He didn't have Brandon Cooks for a couple games. He also, by the way, didn't have Trayvon Diggs on the defense. He hasn't had DeMarcus Lawrence out there on the defense. Okay. Cooper Rush with less help is 3-3 as the starting quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys. He has 10 touchdown passes and only 3 interceptions in 6 starts. Dak Prescott in 8 games had 11 touchdown passes, 8 interceptions, and he had a 3-5 record. Cooper Rush also had to face a Philadelphia Eagles team that's one of the best teams in the NFL. He had to face a top 5 secondary in the Houston Texans, and he had to face a 9-5 team in the Washington Commanders. Who did Dak have to face? He lost to the New Orleans Saints, who are 5-9, terrible team. He lost to the Baltimore Ravens, who have one of the worst secondaries in the NFL. While they are 9-5, they have one of the worst secondaries in the NFL. He lost to the Detroit Lions. While they are a really good football team, their secondary is middle of the pack, maybe slightly above average. He lost to the 49ers, who are missing half their starters and are 6-8. He lost to the Atlanta Falcons, whose secondary wasn't that good, who are also 6-7. So Dak Prescott, to me, is the most overrated, overpaid quarterback. I would take Cooper Rush any day for $6 million over Dak. Cooper Rush is just as good as Dak Prescott, and he costs $54 million less. But Cooper Rush had a good game. CeeDee Lamb, as expected, had a good game. He had 116 yards and a touchdown. Rico Dowdle had another great game. I've been saying this since Game 5. Once I saw Rico Dowdle rush for 86 yards against the Pittsburgh Steelers, one of the top 5 rushing defenses in the NFL on 20 carries. I knew Rico Dowdle could be a top 10 running back in the league. I knew it since Game 5. I knew it. It took Mike McCarthy, our genius head coach, who some of y'all want to bring back. I don't want to bring Mike McCarthy back because Mike McCarthy is a terrible head coach. Some of y'all want to bring him back. I don't want to bring him back. It took him more than half the season. By the time he figured out that Rico Dowdle was actually a good running back, it took him 10 games. What was it? We were 3-7? 3-7. It took Mike McCarthy 10 games to figure out Rico Dowdle was actually a top 10 running back. I knew that Rico Dowdle could be a top 10 running back since what? Game 5 when we beat the Steelers? Mike McCarthy's got to go. There were signs in this game. 14 penalties, unacceptable. The reason we won this game today is because the defense got 4 turnovers on the Carolina Panthers. That's it. We ran the football with Rico Dowdle, and we got a bunch of turnovers on the defensive side of the ball. Mike McCarthy did a better job in the second half of play calling, but at times he still abandoned the run. His team still looks incredibly undisciplined. He's still a horrible talent evaluator. To take 10 games to realize that Rico Dowdle is the best running back is just absolutely horrendous. Even though the Cowboys, even though we won this game, even though Rico Dowdle had a great game, CeeDee Lamb had a great game, Cooper Rush had a good game, even though they had a good game, I still think that the Cowboys need to fire Mike McCarthy. They need to move on from him because it took Mike McCarthy until it was too late to figure out that he actually has a number 1 running back. That his quarterback is just as good as his starter, who they paid $60 million to. It took him this long to realize all this stuff. He's not good when it comes to disciplining his players. His teams are incredibly undisciplined. He refuses to stick with the run game up until this game. He refuses to stick with the run game. He is a terrible talent evaluator. And even though we're 6-8 and we won this game, Mike McCarthy still needs to go. There is no reason to bring him back. I don't care. Yes, we won the game, but we were expected to win. The Panthers are 3-11. They're 3-11. They were beat up and hurt in this game on both sides of the ball. And yes, I'm happy that we won. We won the way that we should have won. But that doesn't mean that Mike McCarthy needs a second chance. No, he doesn't. A big reason why we're 6-8 this season is because of Dak Prescott's bad play, or just bad quarterback play in general, whether it be from Dak throwing interceptions or Cooper Rush fumbling, because Cooper Rush did fumble again, or whether it's just Mike McCarthy refusing to stick with the run game, which he still does. It took him until 14 games to finally do that. Those bad quarterback play, injuries, and Mike McCarthy's play calling, bad coaching really, is a big reason why we're 6-8 this season. I mean, the defense, Micah Parsons had a good game. Osa Digizawa had a good game. Defense did a pretty good job in the second half. They struggled a little bit in the first half because they gave up that touchdown to Cooker, which was absolutely ridiculous. But they rebounded in the second half. This team is still incredibly undisciplined. There were still plenty of reasons as to why Mike McCarthy should be fired, or not fired, but not brought back in 2025. The team was undisciplined. He refuses to stick with the run game. It took him over half the season to realize Rico Dowdle's a top 10 running back, even though I, as a casual fan, somebody that sits on the couch, knew that Rico Dowdle was a top 10 running back 5 games into the season after he had almost 100 yards against the top 5 rushing defense. There's just so many reasons why Mike McCarthy should not be brought back. But anyways, I'm happy the Dallas Cowboys got this win. We're 6-8. Playoff hopes are basically dead. There's no way we're going to make the playoffs. Especially the Commanders. They barely won today against the Saints, 20-19. They're now 9-5. Season's pretty much over, but it's nice to get a win and just enjoy it. 6-8, not great, but hey, I'll take it. All I got to say is, how about them Cowboys? Mike McCarthy needs to be fired. The whole coaching staff needs to be fired. And Dak Prescott needs to be benched. He needs to be benched, Fan Nation. And that's all I got to say. Go Cowboys. Peace.